You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome to Focus on Germantown. I'm Mayor Mike Palazzolo, and it's a pleasure to be in the studios of Germantown Municipal TV, located in Houston High School. It's my privilege to host this show each month and discuss our city government and how we provide services and work with you, our citizens, to make Germantown a great place to live. As we look to welcome spring this month, we can feel good about the sunny financial outlook of Germantown. Very recently, two major bond rating agencies, Standard & Poor's and Moody's, have again awarded the highest possible bond ratings for the city of Germantown. You may be thinking, bond rating, what does that mean to me? To break down just what the reaffirmation of Germantown's AAA bond rating means for all of us is City Administrator Patrick Lawton. Patrick and I will also discuss the approval by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of the final document for the Germantown Forward 2030 Steering Committee. Then in our Focus on Business segment, Campbell Clinic Chief of Staff, Dr. Fred Azar, joins us to share the success of sports medicine with the Grizzlies, Grannies, and Goalies here in Germantown. Let's get started with some really great news. I'd like to welcome our City Administrator, Patrick Lawton, today. Welcome, Patrick.
Thank you, Mayor. Pleasure to be here.
Well, it's good to have you. It was tough saying all those G's at one time, but something that's not starting with a G would be AAA bond rating. And this is a very, very happy day for us in the city of Germantown as employees or elected officials, and for our residents as well. Just this past Friday, we were reaffirmed by both Moody's and Standard & Poor's as a AAA bond-rated city, dual rating. Please share with our viewers kind of what does that mean and how did we get there? What was the process and what does our city do to get that kind of rating?
I think in terms of what it means to our residents, the average citizen in Germantown, it's our credit rating, if you will. If you have a higher credit rating and when you go into a bank and apply for a new car loan or a mortgage, your rate is going to be lower than a lesser credit. And how that translates into savings to our residents, you'll see that in our tax rate. You'll see that in the principal and interest that we will pay on that debt, similar to a lesser rated organization or municipality, perhaps with a dual A rating. And over time, since the city has held the AAA rating with both agencies, one in '86 and the other in '94, it's easy to say, Mayor, we have probably saved the taxpayers millions, literally millions of dollars in interest cost over the life of these bonds. So the rating, we never take it for granted. The second part of your question was, what did we do to achieve that? We have spent the past 2 weeks working with the rating agencies, providing them with just a ton of information, everything from how we manage our finances at City Hall, from strategic planning to what is the long-term economic outlook for our community. All those things are taken into consideration when they put that AAA bond rating on this paper.
Well, and I think you really kind of explained it. I will take it even a little step further. As a former banker, we have something called a credit score, and people that have a credit score between 800 and 850 get the best interest rates on cars or mortgages or any type of loans. So a AAA bond rating for our residents to kind of understand is it's the highest bond rating. You'll get the best interest rate on your home mortgage. We get the best interest rate when we go out to the market to issue bonds. Speaking of issuing bonds, we were in front of the two rating agencies because we're about to issue bonds out into the market. Right. One of our largest bond issues that we've had in the city's history. Please help our viewers understand, where is that money going? What's it going to be put to use for?
Two major issues, or series, if you will. The first issue is for new money to do capital improvement projects within the city of Germantown, some major drainage improvements and some road work within our city, about $4 million worth of new dollars. But at the same time, we are also going to go in and look at two outstanding series that we have: debt that we issued in 2006 and debt that we issued in 2009. And we'll go through all those various coupons, if you will, and see where we might be able to mine savings. We've determined with the help of our financial advisors that we're going to be able to refund a portion of the 06 and the 09 bond and save the taxpayers in present value savings another $200,000 by the refunding of those bonds. So great work on staff's part in identifying that. The second series, and it's just as exciting, now that we have our Germantown Municipal School District, we are partnering with the school district with a $12 million bond. And that will go towards the expansion at Riverdale Elementary School with a 7th and 8th grade wing on the front of that school and a new gymnasium as well. The end result of all that, in addition to this incredible space that's going to be generated there, will be the removal of 20-plus portables behind Riverdale Elementary School. A very exciting project. But one more thing I'm going to add to that, our partnership with the district of that $12 million has agreed to repay the city of Germantown over the life of the bonds, 30 years, $4 million of that $12 million. So great partnership. We've been together for just over a year now. Things are working well, and the fact that they've agreed to step up and help with that financing, I think speaks volumes about the role and the relationship between the district and city administration.
Well, it's very, very exciting, the AAA bond rating and then the projects that we're going to be able to fund, especially with the schools. People have been waiting for literally a generation to remove those portables. I know my daughter spent time in the portables. Your kids spent time in those portables at Riverdale, and now we'll have a 60,000 square foot state-of-the-art building. One, it'll be a showpiece for that neighborhood. I think the neighborhood's very proud of Riverdale, but I think they'll be even more excited when they see the architecture. We have a couple more minutes in this segment. How do we get to be AAA bond rated in the sense of how do we plan fiscally and financially? Because it just doesn't happen overnight, and this has been on pace for the last 30 years. So what does our city do to earn that?
It has, Mayor, you're exactly right. So one of the things we've established is a concrete set of financial policies that we adhere to. We strictly adhere to these policies. You could look at them as constraints, but they're the things that we have done in the good times and the bad times that has kept the city on pace to maintain the AAA rating. There's a quote from a Jim Collins book where he talks about the 20-mile march. We will do the 20-mile march. We will adhere to our financial policies and not deviate from those. Those are the things, they can change over time. We recently adjusted them to make sure that we could issue additional debt capacity as we look in the future with our school district for possibility construction of a new elementary school. But we've been great stewards. We've held the line. We've adhered to our stated financial policies.
Well, that's a tremendous accomplishment, Patrick, and I will tell you this as we go to another segment here in a moment. To conclude this one, I will say personally, congratulations and thank you for your hard work. One thing that people need to keep in mind is we've had that rating since 1986 in one agency, 94 in another. Those have all been times under your leadership as our city administrator. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
When we come back, we will talk more with City Administrator Patrick Lawton and find out how a group of Germantown citizens came together to create a new vision for the city of Germantown. Back in a moment.
They're coming. Places, everybody.
Light check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Everything looks good on our end.
And lights.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
You make me wear my bike helmet. You taught me never to run with scissors. And to follow the swimming rules.
You tell me to stay away from drugs.
To always buckle my seatbelt.
So why do you keep a loaded gun in your drawer?
How safe is that?
You asked them to follow some safety rules. Now they're asking you. In fact, they're counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Remember, always lock it up. Visit ncpc.org.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back to Focus on Germantown. We are continuing with City Administrator Patrick Lawton. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen recently approved the city's new strategic plan, Germantown Forward 2030. Let's tell our viewers more about this citizen-driven plan. Patrick, this has been the culmination of a year of hard work by you, staff, and 30 residents, volunteers of our city, 28 adults, and 2 teenagers that are adults as well, but one from Houston High School and one from Germantown High School. The work is complete. It was adopted by the board. Give us a little bit of understanding about that year-long process.
Well, you're right, Mayor. It took 12 months to complete this with, on average, at least 2 meetings every month to get the work needed to be done completed. Great group of people to work with. One of the first tasks was to take these 30 members and begin to educate them about all the issues facing our community. To sum it up, one of the things they did was the classic SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats about our community. And that really told them a lot about where we are today as an organization and a community, and then where do we need to be in 2030. From that came the actual vision and value statement. It's an amazing statement. It talks about public safety, financial stewardship, education, all the things that you would want to see in the future in 2030, but not where we are today, but trying to stretch a little bit and imagine what Germantown could be in 2030, that ideal state we want the community to be. You could stop at that point. A lot of organizations who do vision and value work said, oh, that's our vision, that's wonderful, let's stick with it. But this group decided to take it one step further, and we identified what we then called key performance areas. What are the areas that we need to manage and measure so we can show what success looks like in the year 2030? We identified what those key performance areas were, and then we built 9 task forces around each one of those key performance areas. And again, that group dug in. It was steering committee members, and we expanded it and included other members from the community to step in and talk about what needs to be incorporated in the various key performance areas. And I'll give you some examples. Public safety was one. That's a key performance area. Education, quality of life, technology, all those areas, if we're going to be successful and complete the vision in 2030, we need to be successful in these areas. They took those key performance areas and developed a series of strategic objectives around each one of them. Again, taking it one step further, they said, well, that's fine. Those are broad qualitative statements about what the vision could look like, but what are the time frames? What are the action plans? And just as important, what are the key performance measures that we need to track quarterly, annually, during the 15-year planning period to make sure that we stay on pace? It is truly a living, breathing document.
Wow, it's a lot of work. As a matter of fact, just to kind of give the viewers even more of a sense of that, 12 months, 30 members of a steering committee, somewhere around 100 or so on the 9 task force. We had a town hall type of meeting with a couple hundred people there to work that evening on the task force. We had a kickoff meeting with a few hundred people. All in total, maybe somewhere around 1,000 of our 40,000 residents have touched this document some way, shape, or form. This is the replacement of Vision 2020 that was adopted in 04, 05. This should take us to another 15 or 30 years. All the work's done, all the heavy lifting has been done. Now, so does the document sit on the shelf and collect dust, or what happens now?
No. What will happen next is we will take all those strategic objectives, and we began that process already, and make sure that they live and breathe in one of the city departmental business plans. Each department has a business plan, and now we will add to that, in terms of their operational objectives, we will assign specific strategic objectives in each one of the business plans. Classic example, public safety. Chief Hall One of his strategic objectives that will now be in his business plan is safest city in Tennessee. How do we get there? We're very close right now, but he's going to develop a series of action plans, and they have already, and performance indicators to mark our progress towards that. One thing I'll also mention, going back to what you said about the steering committee members, it truly was grassroots, citizen-driven, and I applaud you and the rest of the aldermen in this process, because the mayor and the board, you know this, you all stepped back. You charged the steering committee and let staff facilitate the process and said, there'll be no political influence. This is going to come from the ground up. We will adopt it eventually, but this is going to be generated by the steering committee and by the residents of this community.
Can you give an example of maybe some change citizens might see sooner than later? I know, for instance, we have talked about looking to reshape, remold our boards and commissions. We have 2021 boards and commissions. So some things could come out of the task force, like perhaps there's a wellness commission, or perhaps we have a technology commission, some things that we haven't done in the past. Are any examples that you can think of?
Well, I think those are three good ones right there. Number one, this plan, instead of, as you said, sitting on the shelf, it's going to guide critical policy decisions that are made at the administration level and certainly at the Board of Mayor and Alderman level. Natural resources was one of our key performance indicator. I think going forward, you're going to probably see a lot more use of native plants in our community and more drought-resistant plants in our community. Cut down on the amount of water that we use and the amount of pesticides. That came out of this plan. In terms of technology, we need to create some baseline information about what does our business community need, what are they looking for in terms of technology and communication. In addition to that, it's going to open the door for what do we need to do with cell phone coverage and the placement of towers. Tastefully, yes, in our community, but that is a need that needs to take place as well.
We have less than a minute left. I think there's an old saying, it says you can't manage what you can't measure. And so the dashboards, give us an idea, what will that mean in just about 30 seconds or so?
Very quickly. So we're going to look at this information on a quarterly basis. When I say we, myself, the department heads, other groups involved, and our intent is to report that quarterly to our elected officials, boards and commissions, and to the community in the form of a dashboard where you can look literally like you're looking at the dashboard in your car and make sure that if we're performing the way we should be, things are going to be in the green. But more important to that, you're going to be able to peel back that dashboard and understand the key indicators and measures that make up, are we in green, are we in yellow, or are we red? If we're in red, what do we need to do to swing the pendulum?
Fantastic work, Patrick. Thank you so much, and our Citizen Committee of 30 as well. What great work.
Thank you, Mayor.
We have to take another short break. When we return, we will talk with Campbell Clinic Chief of Staff, Dr. Fred Azar. Please stay with us.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back. Much has been made of the recent growth on Germantown's medical corridor along Wolf River. On the cutting edge of that growth was Campbell Clinic. Now Campbell Clinic is looking to build on their success with expansion. We are pleased to have Campbell Clinic Chief of Staff, Dr. Fred Azar, joining us. Welcome to the show, Doc.
Thanks, Mayor, for having us.
It's good to have you. Campbell Clinic has been an anchor in our medical corridor for the close to 25 years. You've been in this region for almost a century. Please let our viewers know a little bit about your history and what the clinic does and what it provides for our community.
Well, Dr. Campbell started in 1909. He's actually a pediatrician, and soon after that realized he wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. And of course, we were downtown on Madison Avenue for a number of years. and we eventually moved out to Germantown. And fortunately, some of our predecessors had the vision to come to Germantown and to put a building up that was really state of the art about 25 years ago. And throughout the years, we've expanded, and we have a sort of a hub and spoke pattern for how we see patients. We found that patients really want to be able to have access, and patient access is very important to us. So Germantown's our hub. We've got spokes. We still have our downtown presence, one in South Haven, one in Collierville, and most recently, we still have, most recently one at the, down the street in Cordova. We opened up a spine center. And so we're excited about our presence in Germantown. It's been very gratifying being in this area. It's obviously become the center of Memphis. So we're excited about being able to provide access to our patients.
Well, Dr. Azar, you have hit on something. You know, Germantown has become kind of the center of this greater MSA, this Metropolitan Statistical Area. The Wolf River Corridor, we have somewhere around 6,000 of our citizens are employed in the medical health science profession. Campbell Clinic was one of the first in our city, along with Methodist Lebanon, Germantown, and you anchor that Wolf River Corridor. You have some expansion plans. You mentioned a little bit a moment ago, but you have some land behind the clinic that eventually one day that you'll grow even more.
We're really excited about that. You know, we have an outpatient surgery center there. We also have another one in Midtown, but we've got the one in Germantown, and we have some acres behind us, adjacent to our main building and our surgery center. And we're looking forward to having something exciting, hopefully figured out by the end of the year. We've got some planning going on right now. Again, this is all about patient access. We're hoping to expand our footprint. As busy as our other satellites are, patients seem to want to gravitate to our Germantown office, and there's a demand there for more access to physicians.
Well, you're very involved in the community. Your CEO, George Hernandez, serves on our planning commission. He's one of our reserve officers. People, it's kind of a well-kept secret, but everyone sees George around town. He serves on our CEO roundtable. He shared our last roundtable meeting that you have some new procedures, and you were talking about access, some things that are a little bit more on the cutting edge that you can do for patients where it's a lot about ease of mobility, getting in and out. Can you touch on that a little bit?
So we're always looking for ways to innovate, and Dr. Campbell started that. We're just carrying on the tradition. About 7 years ago, we pioneered the after-hours clinic here in the area, and it was such a success. We had to double our providers, and then we eventually expanded to our South Haven office. So that's expanded very well. And then we found that patients not only wanted just to walk in the door and see somebody, they actually wanted to actually have scheduled appointments. So a couple of years ago, we started evening clinics. So we have clinics now where you can actually schedule an appointment as opposed to just walking in the after hours. You can schedule an appointment with a provider and be seen in the evenings, which is more convenient for a lot of our patients.
Well, it seems like, I know a lot of our audience will be kind of eager to hear this. You guys do the orthopedic, I guess, care for a lot of the sports teams around town. Who do y'all care for?
Well, we've cared for all the colleges for a number of years and all the professional teams. Currently, we take care of the Grizzlies, the Redbirds, Memphis, University of Memphis, Christian Brothers University, Rhodes College, and a number of high schools, probably 15 or 16 high schools. We're very proud to be a part of that civic responsibility of providing coverage, and we've done it for a number of years, and we enjoy doing it, and it's something that's very gratifying to us.
Well, not only is the clinic a provider of orthopedic care, also you do significant amount of research. You have a foundation as well. Can you expand on a little bit about what those things do for our community?
So we're affiliated with the University of Tennessee Department of Orthopedic Surgery. We're the faculty, and we train 40 residents and about half a dozen fellows every year. And it's something, the foundation was started in 1940, in the mid-40s, and with really the mission of education and research and community outreach. And that's something that we do. We do some mission work here in the city. We do some mission work overseas. And that's something we're very proud of. We have Campbell's Office of Orthopedics. We're doing our 13th edition of that this year. It's the Bible of orthopedic surgery for physicians around the world. We also do a great deal of research, and we had over 100 publications last year. We're always looking for ways to innovate. We started outpatient joints recently for our patients. A few years ago, we're on most of the providers, so we can offer it to many patients that have hips, knees, shoulders, or ankles. They want to do outpatient on the same day. So that's another exciting area that we're innovating in right now for our patients.
Well, I'll tell you what, it is amazing. A lot of people like to hear facts and numbers. I know that recently I was at a clinic around the corner from you, and West Clinic had something like 30,000 patients in a year. How many patients do you see in a year, and how many doctors are employed? How many staff members do you have at the Campbell Clinic in Germantown?
I think we saw nearly 165,000 patients last year. We also are the only providers for orthopedics at Regional 1, La Bonheur, the VA, and Methodist University. So we have physicians and residents really all over the city. We did probably 8,000 or 9,000 surgeries in our surgery centers. We employ 450 employees, and we have nearly 50 providers. We always want to make our patients have a great experience, but second to that, we love it that our employees love working for us.
We've talked a little bit about the professional athletes that you see, the amateur athletes that you see, but by and large, your average patient might be my mother, my father, might be myself, who may be injured myself jogging on our greenway, but help us understand who kind of your average patient is.
It could be anybody. We take care of pediatric orthopedic problems all the way up to elderly patients with hip fractures and knee joint replacement, that sort of thing, the whole spectrum. And we take care of the athletes, the weekend warriors, and that was really what the after hours was designed for. But quite frankly, we noticed it was very convenient for people to come in, even with chronic problems, to be seen that way. So we take care of patients with foot problems, spine problems, shoulder problems, orthopedic tumors, just about everything you can imagine from a musculoskeletal standpoint.
Well, we've only got about 30 seconds left in this segment, so I'll kind of conclude by saying thank you for being a guest today. More importantly, I'd like to say thank you to Campbell Clinic for being in our community. It's not hyperbole to say that you are one of our anchors in health and care in our community. We've really built well on that in the Wolf River Corridor. You guys are tremendous corporate partners, you know, from George to your doctors to your staff members. You constantly sponsor different events, from our tiny tyke triathlon to a lot of different events. And so we are greatly appreciated as a city. So thank you for being my guest today, Dr.
Thank you so much
Azar.
for having us.
Thank you. I'd like to thank all my guests for being here, and thank you for taking time to focus on Germantown. If you'd like more information about this or any show on Germantown Municipal Television, please visit www.gmtvonline.org. We'll see you when Focus on Germantown returns next month.